Federal Retirement Thrift Investment Board will change restrictions on life expectancy-based withdrawals in the Thrift Savings Plan. Starting next year, eligible participants can get payments based on life expectancy whether or not they've gotten installment payments before. Greg Klingler is director of GEBA Wealth Management. Greg, welcome back. It's good to have you on. That's a mouthful. What is a life expectancy-based installment payment?
So really simple, it's a calculation that the TSP does that theoretically will allow you to take out money for the rest of your life based on actuarial tables. It is not an annuity, so your money could in fact run out, but it is there in order to basically prevent people from spending their money too quickly in retirement and running out before they pass away.
So the difference then between it and an annuity is that you buy an annuity and the annuity pays you once you've bought that product. The annuity pays you every year until you pass, regardless of, you don't run out of money because you purchased this product. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So an annuity right now, with interest rates at historic lows, it is a bit of an issue because the amount that you're going to get for the rest of your life is based on today's interest rate, which is, again, the lowest that we've seen in almost ever. The life expectancy calculation, it gives you complete access to your money still. You can spend it over the course of your lifetime, but there is no guarantee if you have a very long life, whereas an annuity is going to pay you if you die at age 80 or if you die at age 120. The risk is on the insurance company.
I'm aiming for 120 if I have anything to do with it, but I understand that not everybody's going to be able to make that. What's different about what the TSP is going to do, and how should someone who's thinking about these different options decide which one might make the most sense for them?
Okay, so this change goes along with the trend that we've seen in the TSP over the last 2 years with the implementation of the Tsp Modernization Act. The TSP wants to be more competitive from an administrative standpoint with what they consider to be their competitors, IRAs, old 401ks, things like that. This is just another step in that direction. And this is primarily a result of the CARES Act. So we have this little virus going around called COVID-19, and it's caused a dramatic impact on the entire world from an economic standpoint. And federal governments, state governments, they've jumped in with both feet. One of the things that they've done is the CARES Act, and one of the stipulations of the CARES Act is to stop required minimum distributions, suspend them for 2020. Under the old law, the calculation that they did, once you started these systematic withdrawals, you could stop them, but then you could never start systematic withdrawals again. The change that the TSP made is they said now in 2021, if you stop them in the past, you could start them up again, effectively giving people the ability to suspend what many people use this calculation for, required minimum distributions, suspend them for 2020.
What should someone think about? What are the factors that someone should consider to decide whether this is right for them or whether they should consider doing what they're already doing?
Well, the first thing is for many of your viewers who started these distributions from their TSP before age 55, there could be some tax consequences if you're still under the age of 59 and a half, or you've been taking distributions for at least 5 years. If you hesitate or suspend those, there could be tax consequences. So that's the first thing that you should be aware of. The second thing is, from a financial advisor standpoint, this provides additional flexibility. We can start withdrawals, and let's say you wait to take Social Security, for instance, then Social Security can cover a lot of your expenses. Then as your health expenses go up, you can start withdrawals up again. Flexibility is very, very important from a financial planning standpoint, and this provides additional flexibility.
Are there other flexibilities that your clients maybe are saying they wish they had in the TSP, but they don't now, and that's causing them to take money out of the TSP when they can and put it other places, either while they're still in government or in retirement?
So from an administrative standpoint, they've really done a great job. The changes directly affecting the TSP by the Tsp Modernization Act really created a lot of scenarios where now people are no longer limited with the withdrawals that they want. This was kind of the final block in the wall that allows people to now stop their systematic contributions based on life expectancy calculations and then restart them at a later date. You can't do that in 2020, but you can do that in 2021. Now, the only limitations that we're seeing now from a TSP standpoint is the 5 investments. It's very difficult to be completely diversified with 5 index-based investments. So that's what we're seeing now.
The simplification of the TSP is to some people the beauty of it. And as you say, there's not a lot about regarding what people can do among 5 funds. What are you seeing? What kinds of decisions are you seeing people make as a result of what's happening with the virus, the turmoil in the markets, and so on, because of the coronavirus, Greg?
So as I'm sure you know, this has been a bit of a wild ride. We saw the market drop, hit its high right around February 18th, depending on which index you're looking at. And we saw it drop in some cases between 30 and 35%, again, depending on which index you're looking at, by March 23rd. Today, we're looking at almost all-time highs. The S&P 500 is butting against its peak ever. And effectively the C fund is a representation of the S&P 500. The S fund is coming very close to all-time highs, and the I fund's about 5% off its all-time high. So what we're seeing is a lot of people who took on too much risk going into this crash, and then were hesitant to reevaluate their portfolios for a risk tolerance perspective. They were waiting for their money to come back. And our communication to those people is, okay, the market has come back. Now's the time to let's reevaluate your investments. Let's see where your investment's at. Let's look at your risk tolerance and make sure you're set for the future going forward. We're in this weird situation where the economy, it's struggling. We still had 1.1 million job claims today, unemployment claims. Yet the financial markets are doing as good as they ever have been. We're looking at historic contractions on the GDP, but the financial markets, Q2 was the best quarter in the last 100 years for the S&P 500. So how do those two things go together? It's because investors are assuming that all these good things are going to happen. Everything's going to get back to normal. There's going to be basically a cure for the virus. Everything's going to open up. If something like that doesn't happen, we're going to see downward pressure on the markets, and we may see a secondary correction like we saw in 2001 and 2008. Time will tell what will happen in 2020, but I would say that there's probably more pressure on the downside than on the upside right now. So now's the time to be prudent. Now's the time to ensure your investments are properly diversified.
Greg, thanks very much. As always, terrific insight.
It's my pleasure.